for Justin. He's chatting. I think we should. We got 1 minute. We got 1 minute?
This isn't like a good church, like everyone sort of stops talking.
Okay. All right. So I think we can start. Good morning. Welcome to the First Religious Society, Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. I am Reverend Jane Toohey. I am an affiliate minister of this beloved church. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. We are glad that you are here. And it is my real pleasure this morning to introduce Reverend Laurel Gray. Reverend Laurel Gray is serves the Unitarian Church in Westboro, Massachusetts. She's been there for about 6 years? 5 years. And she is a lifelong Unitarian and a longtime friend and student of Reverend Rebecca. She's been mentored by Reverend Rebecca for 5 years, and we are delighted that she could be with us this Sunday. We come together at FRS online and in person, committed to love, peace, and justice. Our mission and our invitation to you all is to come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, and transform our world. If you are worshiping online and would like to access this morning's order of service, please click on the link just below the live stream. And if you would like a large print order of service or hymnal, please ask an usher and they will be happy to help you. I would like to draw your attention to the many activities and events that are happening here at church listed in your order of service. Please join us this afternoon at 4 o'clock for a concert performed by the Spectrum Singers. Our very own Doug Latham is part of this ensemble, and I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful program. We would also like to remind you, you were handed a survey about the 8th principle as you came in this morning. Please, once you've completed it, make sure to hand it back as you leave. There'll be a basket, and Sue Fazoli will be there receiving it, or members of the Anti-Racist Committee. Thank you. It is good to be together.
Thanks, Reverend Jane. It's good to be with you all this morning. Our call to worship comes from this commission on appraisal that the UUA wrote a couple years ago. This is a book about covenant and does a deep dive in. You can get it at the UUA bookstore if you'd like a copy. But all of the readings I selected for this morning come from that book as we together think about covenant and what is the heart of Unitarian Universalism. Our call to worship this morning comes from the Reverend Burton Carley. We gather on this Sabbath morn to worship in spirit and truth, to raise a joyful noise to the eternal mystery, to reconfirm our covenant, to seek wisdom in love, to strengthen our commitment to the common good. We come from many paths to explore that which is hidden, to consider the ways of our hearts, to confess how we have stumbled, to heal what is broken. We assemble in the effort to quicken our compassion and our mercy, to deepen our understanding, to renew our courage, to remember who we are. Thus do we celebrate the grace and the gift of life and practice our faith together always. So on this rather cold spring morning, let us worship together. I invite you to rise now, or in body or in spirit, for our opening hymn. It's in that gray hymnal, number 131, Love Will Guide Us. That's 131.
You may be seated if you aren't already.
Thank you. Please join us in saying the words of our chalice lighting. The words can be found in the order of service. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life that we share together. Each week we also light 2 candles of peace, representing 2 places on earth we lift up and remember as sacred encounter with our world. There are untold numbers of places on this earth that need peace. These 2 we especially hold close in this service and through the week ahead. After each candle is lit, I will invite you to respond by saying peace, soul, shalom. Our first candle is lit for Dedham, where at a recent zoning board meeting, anti-immigrant sentiments took on racist overtones. This has also occurred in Yarmouth, Bourne, and closer to home in Rockport. As the global migration issues continue to intensify, we pray that all citizens of the Commonwealth will be moved by spirit to remember that we are a nation of immigrants, and to open our hearts, minds, and towns with compassion and radical inclusivity. To this we respond, peace, soul, shalom. Our second candle is lit this morning for Newburyport High School, where students, particularly seniors, coaches, teachers, and parents, have been stunned by a skiing accident in which Anna Lynch, one of the high school star athletes, was severely injured and broke her spine. She has to be medically evacuated and medvaced from Montana to Boston. We pray for Anna's recovery and for her family and the community of the high school as they move through the trauma of this accident. To this we respond, peace, soul, shalom. Please rise now in body or spirit as we join our voices in our affirmation of faith, followed by the doxology. The words can be found in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to serve humankind in fellowship. Thus do we souls shall dwell together. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Be seated.
It's a big sanctuary.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would love to welcome all our children friends up here to the chancel and bring your palms. Reverend Laurel is going to share a story about, you can borrow mine.
We're going to figure it out. What's this thing about? We have extras. Palms for everyone. Get a full bouquet of palms there, Laura. Welcome, welcome. I know, it's surprising. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. It's like a little forest down here. So today is a special day. in the church calendar. Does anybody know what day today is? Maybe some of our grown-ups might know what today is. Palm Sunday. Does anybody, what do you know about Palm Sunday? That's maybe unfamiliar to people. It was unfamiliar to me. What do you? You've never seen Palm Sunday. I know, that's why we're going to learn about it. You forgot. It's okay. We're going to figure this out together. So for a long time, I didn't know what Palm Sunday was either, so I did some research this week when they asked. It's about Jesus. Good job. We're going to get there. So let's start, though, with this thing that you have in your hands, this object, right? Because this sort of cues us into something's happening, right? Palm Sunday. It's a palm. Exactly. I know. So why? Why is a good question. Why do we have palms on Palm Sunday? Why is it called Palm Sunday? So let's start with, what do you notice about that palm? And I'll invite our grown-ups, too, to do a little thinking. What do you notice about these palms that you have? It's amazingly, it sways in the wind. Does it sound kind of joyful then, the swaying in the wind, maybe? Yeah. It has a lot of leaves, that's important, yeah. The leaves are big. Would they break easily? No, they're sturdy, right? Yeah. They're very smooth. Yeah, less leaves than a fern, but look similar. The stem is sturdy. You're installing them in the church. I mean, that's appropriate on Palm Sunday, right? Okay, so there's a story that Christians all over the world tell on Palm Sunday. And I think someone said it was about Jesus, right? We got it. Good job. Yeah, so it's about Jesus. Good job. Good job to you. And now Jesus is a very important person in the Christian tradition, right? He's kind of a big deal. Some people said that God had come to earth in the form of a human named Jesus. That's one way of thinking about him. Some people thought he was a teacher that was really powerful, that helped people understand that they needed to be more loving. So that's another way to think about him. But any which way, he's kind of important, right? And the fact that we have so many holidays about him in the Christian calendar, right? Maybe this guy is important to us. So as the story goes, Jesus was returning to a city called Jerusalem, riding on the back of a donkey. So there are a couple key characters. There's Jesus, there's a donkey. He's riding into the city, exactly. That's a great donkey impression. And there are all these people who came and gathered to see this really famous, important guy, right? He was a big deal. And they brought palms with them. This is where we're trying to figure out, why palms? Where did this become part of the story, right? Do you have any ideas? It's okay. That's okay. Palms are a symbol of love. Yeah, they're a symbol of victory, too. They're like celebratory, right? So if you saw a bunch of people with palms, like you do today, like everybody wave your palms in the air. Do we think something's happening? Maybe this is important. Yeah? Maybe something's going on here. So imagine, too, that this was thousands of years ago, right? So they didn't have paved roads like we have right now. This was a dusty old city, right? So what do you think would happen if everybody came into the city and laid those palms down on the ground? What would happen? It's welcoming, yeah. Would you make sort of a carpet? Can you guys do that? Can you cover the carpet with those palm leaves together? Oh. That's okay. You can take a different one at the end. So if we all came and laid our palms down, it'd create this sort of carpet, right, to protect this sacred, famous, important teacher. An entire city.
Would probably fill, I don't know, half the size of this tree. Wait, no.
So many palms. The whole city is so many palms, right? If we all did it together, we can cover so much land.
Probably like over this church.
Yeah,
Probably
you're right.
like a desert.
It would be like you could cover the whole desert, right? What if one person showed up with one palm and put it down on the ground?
Then it would just cover up.
It would just cover a little tiny bit, right? Do you think it would feel like a party? Or maybe you just sort of wonder, like, what's that guy doing with what's this one person doing, right? And so Palm Sunday asks us to remember that when we gather together to remember what's important, we are so much more powerful, right, than just one person showing up alone, right? We can cover this whole carpet in palms when we work together. Do we have a little sense of what Palm Sunday's about now? Yeah. Well, thank you all for coming up here. And you can take these palms with you as you go down to Young Church, and we'll sing to you together. This is a song that was sung to me when I was your age in church, which is pretty cool.
Let us go now, please. May the love of God surround you wherever you may go. Go now, please. Go now, please. May the love of God surround you everywhere you may. Now we are going to have two testimonials. As you know, we are in our campaign. We're moving towards the finale of the campaign. Things are going well, and we really are wanting a very strong finish. And here to speak this morning about their experience at FRS, our first testimonial will be from Pat Skibby.
Good morning. Unlike all you braver people, speaking in public is not my favorite activity. But when Jim Supple asked me to do this, I realized I do have a lot to say about the central place FRS has been in my life for 30 years. Another thought was, yikes, in public, all those people. But then I realized I know those people and they're nice. When our daughter Kate was 11, my late husband Michael, who many of you knew, thought she should have a church home. I was pretty much against this, having grown up happily with no church. Michael and Kate left me home many Sunday mornings to tour probably all the Newburyport churches. But one Sunday they came home full of enthusiasm. Okay, I thought. The next Sunday we went, and there was the Reverend Bert Steves here. Wow, philosophical, rational, intellectual, honorable, humanistic. This I can do, and it's gone on from there. That daughter's 42, I'm still here. There's so many points of connection that have grown out of our coming to FRS. And isn't that what we all seek? Connection to other people, to institutions that provide opportunities to be with others in meaningful ways, to make friends, to do good in the world, to find that place where we feel connected and at home. Kate grew up in Young Church. We made her, maybe forced her is more accurate, to go to Lowell, where kids have to learn about sex and other aspects of adult relationships. She really fought us on that. But several times over the years, she has told us how glad that she is that we insisted. She knew the things that her peers didn't know, and she liked that. In 2003, my mom moved here from New Jersey when she realized she shouldn't be living alone anymore. She was definitely not a religious person, but she got very committed to coming here. Around that time, Michael started doing the weekly announcements from the pulpit. He loved doing that. As a man who was voted best dressed in high school, he also loved that it gave him a reason to don suit, tie, and shine up his wingtips. Michael was not a person averse to public speaking. For the past 9 years, I've been an active member of the Green Team, previously known as Climate Action Project. Since the natural environment is my chief passion in life, the FRS group has been a mainstay for me. It feels so good to be able to actually do something to provide awareness and hope in the face of climate change and other environmental threats. I just want to go off script and insert here that those palm fronds that don't look like palm fronds, that's because they're ecologically sustainably grown special ones. For many years, both Michael and I were stewards, and this is a good time to insert that this wonderful place, both the beautiful structure and the fabulous staff, necessitate a budget. Like other things in life we treasure, it takes a good bit of treasure to sustain all this. and as you know, we're in that funding season at FRS. In 2000, our grandson Cain was born, followed in 2003 by Olivia. As soon as they were old enough, Michael and I brought them here. I took my several weeks turn every year teaching in Young Church. They both did L with many fewer complaints than their Aunt Kate. There were special Sundays when all 4 generations of us were here. Michael, me, my mom, our son and his wife, and the grandchildren. Olivia sang in Young Church Choir in a number of candlelight services where her grandfather was MC. Almost 20 years ago, we joined our then minister, Harold Babcock, in traveling to our partner church of UTEC in Transylvania. Transylvania is a real place. It's a region of Romania. It was an eye-opening and glorious journey. It was a work trip, and we worked plenty. But the main thing was that we got to know and connect with the villagers. My mom died in 2010, and her service was here. Michael died last year, and his service was here. Many of you were here for his service, and if you were, you recall our son John in his eulogy getting us all on our feet for that superb standing ovation for his dad. I forgot to speak about friendships. The friends we made here are friends for life. In my opinion, the most amazing people come here. They're kind, thoughtful, welcoming, selfless, responsible, bright, sensitive, wise, inquisitive, conscientious, and helpful. We are all so fortunate to be here.
Thank you very much. I just said to Pat before the service started that I was thinking about Michael's service last week for some reason. Oh, I know, because I was thinking that Julie's farewell service was a highlight for me. It was one of those standout days at FRS. But Michael's service was also one of those standout days. So it's great to have you here. And Michael's with us in spirit, I can feel it. Our next testimony will be from Sue Fazoli.
Thank you, Jane. Good morning. The testimonials that you've listened to during the past few weeks have been messages from the heart, as you hear from Pat this morning as well. These are stories that provide a glimpse into the beliefs, values, and memorable experiences that make the First Religious Society what it is, a place where we can be ourselves, to wonder, to learn, and to grow together. I'd like to begin my story with what brought me to Unitarian Universalism before talking about some of the connections and experiences that I've valued here during my time at FRS. But first, how I became a UU. Well, more than 25 years ago, when our kids, Ben and Erica, were very young, I wanted to join a church where they would have a spiritual upbringing, like what I had growing up in the Congregational Church in my hometown. My husband Lee and I attended membership classes at the local community church, and we had enjoyed the thought-provoking sermons and music during Sunday services and thought that church would be a good place to bring up our kids. Well, that was until the last session when the minister looked us straight in the eye while holding a Bible and said, "This is what we believe, and you are welcome only to join our church if you also believe the word of the Bible." Well, that put the kibosh on our joining. Even though I thought I could secretly believe whatever I wanted, neither of us could in good conscience conform to the dogma that was endorsed by that congregation. We sought a faith community that would accept us as we were, one that welcomed questions and learning together. So fast forward a year or so later, when a good friend invited us to a church service at the First Universalist Society in Franklin, Massachusetts, we found that this UU faith was right for us. We made lifelong friends at that congregation, and there I found the religious freedom to develop my own credo, which continues to be the basis of my faith today. Well, in 2015, we moved to Salem to shorten my commute to a new job in Charlestown. I began church shopping close to Salem, but each UU congregation that I visited was either too Christian, not very welcoming, too small, more focused on political action than spiritual growth, or just not the right fit. The same friend who brought me to the UU church in Franklin suggested that I visit FRS, as Reverend Rebecca had just begun her ministry there. So during my first visit, I was deeply touched by the love, the energy, and the words that Reverend Rebecca shared. It was an automatic, yes, this is the congregation that I've been searching for. even if it does take me 37 minutes on Sunday mornings to get here for service. I shed tears of gratitude that morning, knowing that this place would be my new spiritual home. Susan Thorne, who I don't see here today, was sitting behind me, and she noticed my tears and welcomed me when the service was over. I can't tell you how appreciated a warm welcome is to those who are entering the sanctuary for the first time. So fast forward 5.5 years, we've survived a pandemic, in part by establishing new ways to be together in person or on Zoom. I am proud that the work of our social action and community groups attests to our values, mission, and ends. I enjoy fostering new friendships with people who have similar values, dreams, and aspirations for learning together in building a beloved community. I love our connections to other faith traditions, the sound of the mindfulness bell at the beginning of each service, the joy of poetry, and the sharing of joys and concerns. The learning opportunities that I've had through Seeing White, Living the Pledge, the Eighth Principle Initiative, have deepened my understanding of the impact of systemic racism and have increased my awareness of my own implicit biases and unintended microaggressions. Through this work, I've begun to better connect my spiritual beliefs with actions to address issues related to diversity and social justice. So I want to end by thanking you all for your talents and treasures that you bring to FRS community. I thank you for your thoughtful and intentional engagement in work that matters. I thank you for entering into brave spaces to question ingrained behaviors and actions as you explore what spiritual wholeness and beloved community mean to you. And I look forward to the years ahead as we continue to grow and create new memories together. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sue. And I've been part of the anti-racist initiative for a while, which Sue has led with great persistence and fortitude. And I know we're going to come to a wonderful conclusion soon. But I'm so grateful that you do make that 37-minute drive. We are all the better for it. The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of the church, both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering not designated as pledge goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. This March, shared collection goes to support UTEC. UTEC's mission is to ignite and nurture the ambition of our most disconnected young people so that they can trade violence and poverty for social and economic success. UTEC serves the communities of Lowell, Lawrence, and Haverhill. The program starts behind the walls of correctional facilities and transitions into an intensive program in the community post-release. 87% of young adults in their workforce development programming had no new rearrangements. This rate is just 1/4 of the state average, which is inspiringly low. Please help fuel the hope for young people in this program. This month of March is also, as you know, the time of our annual giving campaign. If you are ready to make your pledge, please come up to the chancel while the music is playing, and our campaign co-chairs, Ray Wilson and Sue, will gladly receive it. So far, we have received 183 pledges, totaling $436,251. The one is fascinating to me. Thank you all so much. This amount represents 75% of our goal of $575,000. If you have not yet pledged your financial support for this beloved community, this is the moment. A pledge of any amount makes an enormous difference in the life of this church. Please help us to make FRS financially secure in this coming year so we can have the impact that we wish to have on our community. As Ray Wilson reminds us, this is our church, and we can't do it without you. To give online, please use the link in your order of service or below the live stream. You can also make a contribution by text, and of course, you can always mail a check to the church as well. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received. Thank you so much. Each week we lift up the joys and sorrows of our beloved faith community. Betsy Hazen, our pastoral care associate, will light the candles as I read what has been shared with me in advance of today's service. If you would like to share a joy or sorrow to be read in the service, you can always send an email to betweenus@frsuu.org or write in the book located in the vestibule. We light a candle this morning of care and concern for the family of Astor Shepherd. Many of you were able to meet Astor's family at the wake yesterday at Rogers Funeral Home. Her celebration of life service will be held here on May 4th at 1 o'clock. More information will be coming in the steeple. We also light a candle of care and concern for the members of this beloved community who are struggling with memory challenges and for their caretakers. Nancy Kidd, Linda Harding, and Richard George are organizing a support group for caretakers of dementia patients. The first meeting of this support group will happen this coming Wednesday, March 27th at 12:30. We thank Nancy and Linda and George and Richard for this effort, and we hope and pray that all the members of our community who suffer with memory issues will feel the love of spirit surrounding them and the love of this community as we take action on their behalf. Thank you. We light one final candle representing all those joys and sorrows, though unsaid, which are held in just as much love and care.
Our prayer this morning comes from the Reverend Carol Seisel, and before I begin, I want to invite you into that quiet place if you can find it. Maybe that means you want to put your feet on the floor and feel the steadiness of the building beneath you. Maybe you need to take a big breath and let it out. Maybe you need to release some tension in your shoulders or your feet after walking through all that ice and snow yesterday. And if you'd like to, I invite you to close your eyes for this prayer. Come in, come home. Bring all that you are to this wonderful space blessings and burdens, joys and sorrows, laughter and tears. Come in, come home, rest a while in this sweet place of covenant, comfort, and care. Lay each burden and sorrow upon our pillars of strength and support. Place your tears in this stone bowl, worn smooth by love and the passage of time. Come in, come home. Settle into this house painted with wonder, tinted with awe, and bound by covenant. Breathe in the joy of community and relationship. Delight in the laughter of children. Let your spirit be refreshed and renewed. This is your sanctuary. This is your haven. This is your home. So come in and know this, that we have been waiting for you. Amen, and blessed be.
Our reading this morning, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I cut Greg off. Apologies, Greg.
Sorry about the housekeeping. Make kindness your golden rule. Whatever you do, you will find that being kind makes this world a better place. Put you in a state of grace. Make kindness your golden rule. Great teacher who lived long ago, well, he taught a lesson that we all ought to know. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, no matter what your point of view. That lesson still rings true. Make kindness your golden rule. Wherever you go, you will find that being kind makes this world a better place. Puts you in a state of grace. Make kindness your golden rule. is a gift you can give now. It costs you nothing, but it's worth a lot. Give the gift of your kindness. You can do your part. Just open up your heart. Make kindness your golden rule. Whatever you do, or you will find that being kind makes this world a better place. In a state of grace, make kindness your golden rule. Make kindness your golden rule.
Thank you, Greg. A perfect choice for our theme of kindness this month. Our reading this morning is from Reverend Julian I. Soto, and it's called The Light Must Spill to Shine. Some people are used to keeping rules. Don't cross the street when the light is red. Only sensible. It turns out that keeping rules is not the same thing as keeping covenant, which asks us, instead of keeping a bright line, to keep our promises. To what have we promised ourselves? To this moment in time and place, to this community, and even tenderly interconnected, this planet. We promise ourselves to the idea that we are each and all human beings. We promise that there is something moving between us that we cannot tame and cannot measure. The chalice is a reminder that what flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. The thing you must be is yourself, unadulterated, shedding the willingness to journey alone. I will repeat that line. Shedding the willingness to journey alone, as though you are made of something hard and unforgivable. You are human. You belong right here, right now. And together, we will chase away the sickness and the secrets and leave only the open possibility that the future is a space for growth. May it be so.
Thank you, Reverend Jane. I often tell new ministers, and often colleagues too, that ministry is a team sport. So it's better that we do this thing together. And even if the senior minister is out of town, there are still people here, right? So it's good to be with you, and I'm glad to be here this morning. A few weeks ago, I participated in a World's Religion Day at my local middle school. And so on this day, all of the sixth graders spend the day rotating between different speakers representing different world traditions. So you give a 20-minute talk 7 times in a row, which is a little like getting stuck in a time loop, right? So every time I did this, I started by saying that religions generally have something at their center, right, around which everyone is orienting. And for many religions, that thing at that center is a belief maybe in God, it's a certain kind of holy book, it's a certain teacher, or maybe a prophet. And Unitarian Universalism is unusual among religious traditions because that thing at the center around which we orient is not a shared belief, right? Surprising. We don't claim one way of talking about God or prophets. You don't only have to believe in the Bible, right? So then what is the thing? We're still doing something here together. So what is that thing at the heart of our tradition? Hopefully you've guessed that it's a covenant. It's a promise to care, a statement not of belief, but of action. Those seven principles that we all hold in common begin with the words, we covenant to affirm and promote, right? Those are action words, not believing words. Yes, we can see the theological roots of the Unitarians and the Universalists in those 7 principles, and still, the promise that we're making in this covenant is not about what we will believe, but about how we will behave. The word covenant comes from the Latin origin convenire, which literally means to go with. So the word itself says something both of action and of togetherness. And again, from this commission on appraisal that talked all about covenant, they write, "No single concept is more central to our faith understanding than being in covenant. It is at the very core of our identity. It is how we try to build and sustain the beloved community. It is the foundation of our governance structures at all levels." So it's a big deal, right? I went to a workshop a few months ago with the Reverend Erica Barron, who maybe some of you have met. She's one of our New England regional staff people. This was part of their Liberating Practices series, which I recommend if you haven't been to one. And this particular session was on covenant. And so Reverend Erica, in sort of helping us think more broadly and more spaciously about covenant, shared this framework from the theologian James Luther Adams. So he taught that our covenant is defined by three primary things. So one, it creates intimacy with each other, so drawing us into the care of human connection. It connects us with something greater than ourselves. Maybe you call that God or love or mystery. So there's something transcendent, right, that's going on in making this promise. And it endures over time. This is not a one-time deal. A covenant is not a single moment. It endures over time. We are not the first ones to make this promise, and we will not be the last. So again, those three things are intimacy with each other, connection to something greater than ourselves, and it endures over time. Adam says that those are the hallmarks of a covenant. That sounds kind of lofty, right? That's all good and well in theory, but then how do we turn that thing into a reality? Because I would argue that making a promise to care without doing the caring is worse than never making the promise at all. This is the particular pain of religious communities and religious leaders talking about love or God or what is sacred, and then acting with cruelty. We need the promise and the action to match. And yet, we are human, right? Life is complicated and often murky. It's not always clear what the right thing to do will be. So how do we stay in covenant? How do we make this promise meaningful? I want to return to the story of Palm Sunday that we shared with our children. So if we take that really big picture view of Christianity, the thing at the heart of the tradition is a certain kind of belief about God taking the form of a man named Jesus, and that story is told in the Bible. So that's sort of the thing that we're working with in the center. And on Palm Sunday, we remember the story of Jesus riding into Jerusalem on a donkey, beginning what we now call Holy Week, right, that ends with Easter and the resurrection story next Sunday. And we give out palms on Palm Sunday to remind us of the people who gathered in Jerusalem, right, and laid down palms in the streets to make a path for their sacred teacher, to show their respect, right, to gather in joyful celebration. Palm Sunday is about an action. It's about that reorienting back towards what is most important. And it's something that we practice in community. That single palm isn't going to make a path, right? One person with a palm just seems kind of weird, right? It matters that we do this reorienting thing together, that we lay down this path with each other, that we tend to what is most important in community. So what practices help us return to our covenant, help us remember that shared promise to care. And in doing so, those three things connect us not only with each other, but with something transcendent in a way that endures over time. One, I think, is obvious, is exactly what we're doing right now, right? We gather in worship to remember what is most important. We recite words of covenant together in this service. We reflect on how to live out our promise in this ever-complicated world. And we do that as a congregation, as a gathered body, right? It's not church if I'm the only one here, right? We tell stories of people who came before us to remember that we are bound to this fabric of history and the hopes of the future. We talk openly about the ways that we fall short of our covenant because we will, because we are all human. And then we recommit and reorient back towards that promise with greater clarity. Sometimes conflict, though uncomfortable, is a blessing, an invitation to return to our promises together. I know this congregation, I think you got a survey at the beginning of the service, is going to be voting on the 8th principle, which is again part of this practice of reflecting on the ways that we've fallen short of our ideals and then recommitting with greater clarity. Yes, affirming the inherent worth and dignity of all people should require dismantling white supremacy, and the existence of the 8th principle is an indication to me that we need to get clearer together, right? We need to get clearer about our promises and our actions when it comes to issues of race and power. And in the same way, Article 2 and this move to fully rewrite our core 7 principles, those 7 parts of that promise to care, that too is a practice of reorienting back towards this path of covenant, asking if we've been clear in our promise or if there are new words that might be better to clarify the heart of Unitarian Universalism. It's not changing who we are, it's getting clearer about who we are and what we promise together. Maybe you have a practice of lighting a chalice at the beginning of gatherings to help you reorient back towards our shared covenant, to help you remember our enduring connection to each other and that which is greater than ourselves. Maybe it's giving to the capital campaign or the annual pledge or the weekly offering. That too is a practice of reorienting towards this promise to care about each other, bringing what we have to offer, helping to make a new way together. Palm Sunday asks us to step away from the distractions and collectively remember what matters most to us. Asks us to remember how powerful we are together. It asks us to celebrate. There is so much in this world asking for our attention, so much overwhelm and suffering, and we can tell the truth about that together in this place. We can grieve and rage and organize and act for change, and in this house, we do not worship despair. The Unitarians and the Universalists rejected that idea a long time ago. The ultimacy with which we covenant is not destruction, not damnation. It's love and creativity, wonder, and shared possibility. In the words of the great Ralph Waldo Emerson in his essay Circles, our life is an apprenticeship to the truth that around every circle another can be drawn, that there is no end in nature, but every end is a beginning, that there is always another dawn risen on mid-noon, and under every deep a lower deep opens. Our ultimacy with which we covenant is not a God of destruction, but a world of shared possibility, of creativity, of care, right? In this house, we return to an ethic of love like our North Star. We gather together to practice reorienting ourselves back towards that spark of life that dwells within us, back towards our interdependence, back towards our ancestors who worked to rebuild the world in the image of love and possibility. We are a people of a covenant that invites us into this practice of caring. And in doing so, we draw closer to each other. We align ourselves with what is sacred, and we know the steadiness of a lasting promise. Thank goodness, right? Thank goodness this path of covenant is one we make and travel together always. Amen, and blessed be. And now singing.
Thank you, Reverend Laurel. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 1014 in your teal hymn, Answering the Call of Love. And I remind us that in the hymnal it will say standing, but we use the phrase answering the call of love. Thank you. Please remain standing as we join in saying our unison benediction as Betsy extinguishes the chalice. The words can be found in your order of service. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to fight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always.
I think you remain standing, right? That's your practice here. If you didn't get a palm on your way in, you can certainly get one as you leave in joyful celebration on this cold Sunday. I'll offer you these words of blessing from the Reverend Carol Thomas Seisel. Let peace reside in your hearts. Let grace be spread in the world by your caring touch. Let love spill from your mouth whenever you speak. Move from this space carrying the blessings and responsibilities of living in community with you. And remember, you are never, ever on this journey alone. So go in peace. Amen, and blessed be.